Welcome to another Tech Talk tip, and I wanted to discuss cornering. And one of the things that we've spoken about on our podcast and in Smash It Speed Secrets is about improving performance and getting around the track faster. And of course, one of the topics that we covered is appraising your car and what you need it to do more of in any given situation. And this applies not just for 12 scale and GT12, this applies for all racing. And I want to propose a theory that, let's say a single bend, and there's many types of bends, chicanes, we've got 100% of a bend. So let's take the start point and the end point of a bend, and your car has to go around it. So we have the entry, the mid, and the exit. So entry, mid, and exit. And if we broke that 100% down into three categories, as I say, the entry, mid, and exit, the car can turn, but it can only have so much entry, so much mid, and so much exit, because it's one full bend. And so that one full bend equals 100%. So if your car is going in and it has very little entry, and let's say it has, out of the entire bend, it only has 5% entry, that means that the car's got another 95% of turn of steering that got around the corner. It doesn't necessarily mean it was efficient, but the car did start here and did end up here, so it did go around the entire bend. So therefore, if you had 5% here and you had, let's say, another 25% here, that means you had 70% exit steering, because the car pushed, and then it might have hooked coming out of the bend, and it made you end up in the same position. So therefore, the balance of that bend in its entirety is too heavily weighted on the exit. Therefore, you need to rebalance your bend, rebalance your 100%, so that it looks a little bit more 25, let's say, 40, let's say, and then that leaves us with 35. Now all of a sudden you have a slightly different balance of turn through that corner. Now for some people, what people might prefer is having a much softer car going into the corner. Get the car in, all of a sudden the car is in the corner, and that's when they now feel like they want their steering. Another guy might want to have 40% at the start to get the car turned in. He only wants another 10% in the mid corner, and he wants another 50% at the end of the corner. But ultimately, you've still only got 100% to play with. And I think breaking it down into these three sections is a good way of you appraising how you need to change your car to get round the track. So, with that in mind, we have a few variations of a bend. So we have this bend, 90 degrees. We've got a sweeper, hairpin, and we've got a chicane. Now, you can appreciate that all of these bends have very different load characteristics on a car. If you take the sweeper, you'd have to say that the load, even though it might be at its maximum here, it's actually through the bend, the load is actually way more consistent. A chicane, you'd have to say that the opposite effects are actually at its highest, because all of a sudden you're trying to turn the car to the right, then you're trying to turn the car to the left, and then you're trying to effectively turn the car to the right again. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4 points where the car has to change direction. And within that, you've still got your blocks of 100% that add up to that chicane. Now, if you design the car to get through that chicane and change direction quickly, when you come back to the polar opposite of the bend that has a full sweeper, all of a sudden the car may go better through the sweeper, but actually you'll lose some efficiency in the chicane. So therefore, going back to the balance of 100%, there's your 100%. There's one type of bend, there's two types of bends, there's another type of bend, the hairpin. All of a sudden you've got 3 bends there. Sorry, shouldn't have done that. If you've then suddenly got 3 types of bends, 4 types of bends that you need to carve up your 100% and make them work for the variation of bends that are on that track. And I think once I started to get my head around that, and this 100% theory is all mine, it might be faulty, but it's certainly something that I've started to apply over the last year or so, and it has definitely improved my driving. Hope that helps. Click and like the video, and we'll make sure we deliver some more clips like this. Subscribe, and we'll see you all next time.